In the last episode, I built some beautiful cottages with a honey farm and a limestone generator, and beds made out of limestone because I've got no wool. So in today's episode, I don't care what the quest is that I get, good morning Roxy, I need to make myself a wool farm, and I really need to start tidying up the rest of that little island area over there. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Oh, there we go. It's quest time, I guess. Let's see if that matches up with what I want to do. Quest. Creature comforts. You can't sleep on blocks of limestone, you fool. It's about time you got some wool. Oh, good. Build an automated wool farm so you can enjoy the comfiest comforts in comfort. I will. What's a side quest? White wool is boring. Create at least 4 different types of dye automation. Well, that shouldn't be too tricky, I don't think. The only problem is this island used to have sheep on it, but it's hardly got anything left on it at all. And because I'm making an effort in these first few episodes not to go out into the world and do exploring and to basically use what I've got to hand, it's going to be tricky finding sheep. Or is it? Looking at the map, you can see we've got a lizard, a rabbit, a fox, another lizard, and that's about it. And nothing else is spawning. And the reason for that is that on Java Edition, if there are more than 10 passive mobs loaded in the world, that's passive mobs, not fish or hostile mobs, then no more will spawn. You can find more in new chunks, but they just won't spawn in. And because I moved the world spawn chunks to that island when I started this series, well, let's go over there and see what the problem is. This island is filled with coconut trees, and a lot of those I've planted. And whenever you plant a coconut tree, when it grows, it can spawn with coconuts. And those coconuts are on a timer, and when that timer runs out, they fall. And when they fall, they have a chance of spawning in a coconut crab. Those coconut crabs don't just spawn naturally, they actually come from the coconuts in the tree. And if we look back at the map, you can see there are hundreds all around this island. So if I want to get sheep and things to spawn on that other island, I'm gonna have to kill myself some coconut crabs. And here we go, the very last crab. That was a lot of crabs. Right, now I need to go back over to that island and see if anything's gonna start spawning in. Oh, that was a bad idea. Oh, jeez. Oops. Come on, I don't have any bones on me right now, but you're going to be a farm dog. Well, I've had a good look round the island, and other than that dog and the fox, there really isn't anything on here. Apart from an absolute ton of bees, and I don't know if these bees count. Now, the way you can take bees or animals out of the mob cap is to name tag them, but then you need name tags for that, which I don't have. But I don't think it'll be those, because, well, there are never 10 of them out all at one time. But there we go. Look, sheep. A sheep and a chicken. They're on the map. It worked. There we go. We have 2 farmyard animals for my woolly farmyard thing that I'm doing today. Oh, this is brilliant. Now, obviously, if we're going to be making a wool farm, I'm going to need more than 1 sheep. And the reason I want chicken is because I've got an interesting way of getting a couple of dyes from chicken, which means I need more than... Well, actually, I don't need more than 1 chicken because chickens lay eggs. But I definitely need another sheep. Look, another sheep and a deer thing. And 2 more sheep. Oh, this is perfect. Oh, this is exactly what we needed. So here we go. We've now got 3 sheep and a chicken. And how are you getting stuck on 1 block? I've got everything I need to build myself a wool farm. And in order to stop all of these lovely little animals from despawning, all I need to do is put them inside of a little pen. Nice. Lay me some eggs, you. I'm going to need a lot of them. So if I'm going to be building a farmyard, I'm going to need somewhere to build a farmyard. And this little square is looking kind of full and not really like there's a great deal of room to put a farmyard. I mean, I could extend this bit out here and put it basically where I'm standing. Alternatively, I could build it over here, which would mean flattening out a whole bunch of this area and terraforming that, but I think this would lend itself better to like a farmyard type area, and then we could plant some wheat and stuff around there, make it look more farmy. I think that'll work. So it looks like I've got a whole bunch more digging to do. I've got to chop down all the trees I planted in the last episode. Oh, geez. However, before I start doing some more terraforming, I'm going to need some enchantments on these tools. And I've collected a reasonable amount of experience now, way more than 30 levels worth, so all I need is an enchantment setup, and if you remember a few episodes ago, we actually found an entire complete one inside the nether. The only problem is, in order to get all of those bookcases back here, I'd need Silk Touch. which I haven't got. So I think if I just go over there and destroy the bookcases that are there, bring back all of the books that I can and the enchantment table, then we're going to be on our way to getting enchanted. Oh, this is one of the crabs in the course. There's a crab in the net. Oh, now I'm withered. Now there's a strong chance I might die here because my way of getting into that little enchantment setup is this janky little staircase here, which doesn't offer me a great deal of protection, but here we go. And here we go. Here's the little enchantment setup. Oh, this feels awful. And I'll take that. Thank you very much. I've just got to get back up there without dying. Oh no, there's a ghast. The ghast has appeared. This is bad. We need to get to the top of that before the ghast spots me and blows up my stairs again. No, thank you, ghast. Come on. Come on, little legs, faster. I should have put stairs on these stairs. Ah, we did it. Well, this workshop's becoming a bit of a mess, but everything's squeezed in. We've got our enchantment table here now that gives us up to level 30, and we've even got my little XP machine down here, which we can automatically give ourselves XP now just by breaking this pipe. And then if I put it back in again and spin the pump round and stand on there, all of my levels end up back in that tank. All I need now is Silk Touch, and at the moment, it wants to give me Fortune, and in order to re-roll the enchantments, it's going to cost me 5 levels. I don't want to re-roll the enchantments. Fortune 3 on the pickaxe might be good though. Oh, and I'm breaking 3 as well. That's not too bad. Fortune 2. That's not what I want. All right, we'll waste it on a book. Fine. And then put my shovel in. Give me Silk Touch. I need 11 more levels. I got vein mining on a shovel. That's not ideal at all. Vein mining's a really good enchantment, but it's not the sort of thing you want on a shovel when you're trying to terraform because it just ends up digging big holes in the floor. Oh man, what a waste. And what a waste. And that's it. That's all of my levels gone out of my tank, so I've literally got one last go at this. Oh, just efficiency 4. Still, I guess I don't need Silk Touch now. But I wanted it. Silk Touch on a shovel means I can pick up grass. Oh, jeez. Just like that, that big old farmhouse is gone, but all of the terraforming has remained. And that's because I did all of the terraforming in survival on this world and all of the testing in creative on a creative copy of this world, which means it's now time for me to talk you through the process of actually building the actual building, the farmhouse, and all of the bits around it in the form of another time lapse. Already? We've just done one. All right, fine. We won't jump straight into another time lapse because the first thing I need to do is pop down this schematic cannon and the table that I've forgotten to bring with me. This table that I did bring with me, honest, didn't forget it at all, so that I can load up the schematic of that farmhouse, plonk it down somewhere, get it positioned so it's not floating off the terrain. I think that should just about do it. Pop that in there, stick one of those in there, and find out exactly what I need to build this thing, which is going to be a lot of stuff, because this farmhouse is the biggest building that's going to be in this entire area. So I'm going to scurry off, go and get all of the things we need to get that built. So now we've got everything we need for the schematic cannon to do its job. I've just got to wait for like 1,000,000 years for this to finish. And I'm going to stand here and watch it go out of this bedroom window where I'm safe from creepers and just let it get on. If you're thinking, wow, so lazy, he's using the schematic cannon to do all of the work again, then I'd argue that anyone can place down a bunch of blocks and stick a roof on top. For me, the challenge, and if you like, the work in building, is coming up with a design you're happy with and then making the build fit into the landscape, which to me is far more enjoyable and satisfying than building what is in reality just a handful of empty boxes. So that's exactly what I did, starting with the paths around the buildings and the farmyard. As this is going to be primarily an animal farm, I wanted to keep a sense of that muddy, messy farmyard with bits of stone, gravel and dirt scattered around the edges. Adding in some straw bales as another alternative to dirt with variations of gravel, stone and tuff really brought this together. And the grass tufts coming out of the dirt give that feeling that the vegetation under the mud is trying to break through. And speaking of vegetation, one of the best ways to tie a building into the landscape is with varieties of complementary colours, greens and browns particularly, as these mimic the grass and trees around the surrounding area. which is why I add the vines and the bushy leaves in the flower boxes, and then the glow lichen to blend between the strong green of the vines and the grass tufts and the blander colour of the buildings and paths. The flowers in the flower boxes add another touch of contrast, however I prefer it if they were all white and magenta flower, as this would better complement the flowering azalea bushes and the limestone. However, I've pretty much completely run out of flowers now, so I used what I had left. And I did intentionally leave the spaces in the flower boxes to help maintain that unkempt, messy farmyard feel. I also threw in some grass, bushes and fences around the path, scruffing up the grass outside of the fences to help soften the harsh line where the build ends and the landscape starts. Adding in a few patches of coarse dirt, some more bushes and the odd flower and fern really helps to make the build feel as if it's supposed to be there rather than just being dumped on top or dropped in. And I also threw in some wall lanterns, a few flower pots, decorated pots, barrels and even some brown wall mushrooms to really solidify this working area as something that's probably quite damp, aged and well used. And I think it all looks great, although to really sell it, it could probably do with a couple more things. And I don't just mean the interiors, because every single one of these buildings is still completely bare on the inside. What I mean are these nifty carts. Well, how could it be a farmyard without these fancy carts kicking about somewhere? And we've got 3 different types. We've got a storage cart, an animal cart, and we've got this, like, plow cart thing. And I think the perfect place for one of these would have been in here, but I didn't realise how massive these things were. I think we can squeeze it in there if we get it just right. If we just sort of plonk that to the side there, like that, you can just about squeeze through still. I'm pretty sure, there we go, I can actually pull these along, so I could probably reverse this in a bit better if I try hard. Oh geez, reversing a plough's not easy. There we go. No, how do you reverse a plough as a person? There. That kind of works, I guess. You have to walk around it a bit to get through, but I think that's fine. I think we'll throw this animal cart in down here somewhere, maybe in front of that building if it'll go. And I think we should probably have one of the other ones inside, but I haven't actually dealt with the insides yet, and I haven't even changed the floor in here from grass, and that's because this is probably going to be where the sheep are, and sheep need grass. So overall, I'm really happy with this build so far. I particularly like these wall mushrooms. I really do think they help blend it in together with the ground, and I think it fits in really nicely with the other builds in the area as well. I don't think it stands out too much. I think from these people's gardens, it kind of works that you've got this sort of farmyard over there in the background, and I really do think it brings it all together. So the sheep farm then. Obviously I'm going to need to breed up some sheep and then take them through into their new home. There's nothing weird about this at all. Your bum stinks. Now, before I do any more fiddling with sheep, I actually need to set up a little system to catch this chicken's eggs. So all I'm going to do is stick some hoppers in the ground underneath this chicken and make its fence a little bit smaller. So my plan for the wool farm starts with power. We've got power running on here, which connects to our honey farm that we did in the last episode through this speed controller, and it comes up through into our little first building roomy thing, and it goes across the ceiling all the way across here into this building, which is where I've been breeding the sheep, and into this contraption here. Now, the easiest way to make a wool farm would just be to have a deployer or a couple of deployers on a little gantry system which goes backwards and forwards and just shears the sheep which are in this area. But I think I want this as a stationary setup. So we're going to have a whole bunch of deployers along this back wall here facing outwards. Our sheep are going to be stood on blocks in front of them, and underneath each of the deployers is a smart funnel which is going to be filtered for wool to stop the shears that are going to be in the deployers from falling out onto this belt, which is going to take the items and bring them over here into some sort of storage system. Above each of the deployers, we've got some chutes that are going into this belt, which is basically going to deliver shears into the deployers, and then we've got this chain drive here, which is attached to the power system there, which is going to be powering them. So I put a whole bunch more of these things in now, and in order to get the shears onto this belt, I'm going to be using a fan with some chutes on top, and then all I need to do is get the shears into that funnel there, which is just as simple as putting a funnel on there, a barrel or some sort of storage system here full of shears, and then another funnel there. And powering that belt should be relatively simple. All I need to do is put a gearbox in there, and then put a bit of shaft in there, but as you can see, that's going the wrong way, and now that I've done that, my fan is going the wrong way, so I need to change the direction of my speed controller. just like that. So let's just get a little bit of a chain drive going up there, a gearbox there, and a little bit more shaft there, and that is going in the right direction, so that's good. Oh, and we're placing blocks. We're already sending things up apparently. So now if I was to put some shears in there, they're going to end up there, and this one should get it in a second. There we go. Now it's got shears. So that's getting the shears in, but now I need to think about how we're going to get the items out. And I think for now, that's just a case of extending that belt along there, putting in another belt, probably along this point here, like that, so that the items can come across there and onto there. And I guess we could just have another storage system at this point here with another funnel on it just to take in all of the storage. And all I need to do here is get rid of these bits of shaft, put 2 more gearboxes in there, and then that's going in the right direction. I've got a gearbox here. I just need to attach that to that, and now that's going in the wrong direction. So in order to get that going in the right direction, we'll put a bit of shaft there, a couple more gearboxes there, and then one in there, and then that's all going in the right direction now. So everything is now fully powered, and now everything is fully tidied up and looking nice. And now we've got our little storage system back on. So now all I've got to do is fill this thing with shears, put the rest of the funnels on underneath these deployers, and get the sheep in place. I guess before I can start filtering all of these, I'm going to need all of the different colours of wool that we're going to be running in here, which means doing a little bit more flower picking. And now I've got most of the colours I need. Obviously, we don't have any brown. I also don't have any of the greens. And with this little mill system here, I've just chunked a bunch of the 2 tall flowers in there, and I'm hoping we should get some green coming from there. Or we've got pink, I guess. That's a good start. Oh, there we go. We got green. So now I can make some lime dye and some cyan dye. Now, obviously, these are just dyes. They're not dye farms, so that's not my side quest complete, but at least it means we can colour in all the different types of sheep, except for brown, because I don't have any brown. And I'm not going to be getting any brown until I go to a jungle, which I'm not going to yet. And now what I need to do is shear them all to get the wool to set the filters onto these, so that then we can put them in the place and get this thing turned on, and that's going to be amazing. So in order to filter these then, I'm going to need to set filters that have every different type of wool on them, just in case I end up moving the sheep around. I know that each one of these is only going to take out wool and nothing else, and that means I can turn on the system that's going to send the shears through, and the shears shouldn't end up falling back out and going round and doing the loop. And there we go. We've got 2, 3 with shears. This one should get them any second. There we go. And then they should end up all the way down here. So I think something like this is going to be a good way of keeping our sheep in. We're going to make these little cages out of these copycat panels or boards, and then just have a copycat step above their heads to stop them jumping out. And that way I can then get all the way around this thing to access everything I need, and the sheep aren't going to go anywhere. And yes, they've only got 1 block of grass to share between them, which means we're not going to get many of these different colours, and it's going to be very random which ones we do get. But realistically, I'm mainly going to be wanting white wool and probably some of the greys. I've upgraded these storage boxes to allow for more, and once I've got enough wool, I'm going to section this out so that we can basically fill up each of the different types as I've listed in here. And I put a threshold switch on top so that once this gets to 100% full, it's going to turn off the system. I've also got an override here so I can turn the whole thing off and on. However, I think I'm going to move that over there, and that should, it's shearing the sheep. It's working. I didn't mean it to start yet, but it's working. That means in here we've now got a whole bunch of different types of wool. So it works. It also means we've got this one left over, which is now no longer required. So I've taken that one out, moved things around a little bit, put the cart back in, put a floor back down, and now we are getting quite a bit of wool. As you can see, we're getting all sorts of all the different colours. We're not getting much orange compared to everything else. The shears are lasting, they haven't gone down hardly at all, and everything is working. So that's that wool farm 100% complete. Oh, we just got an orange wool. So now it's time to start working on those dye farms, which means I need that chicken. And I have got a handful of eggs now. That's very good. Well done, chicken. So in order to make dyes from chickens, I need a chicken farm. And I think that's probably going to end up in this little room here, because chicken farms are not particularly big. That being said, I do need to process the chicken in order to turn it into dye. And the way we do that is just to use a chopping board and a knife or one of the automatic slicers to turn chicken into raw chicken cuts, and that gives you bone meal. And the great thing about bone meal is not only is it useful for many, many things, in terms of dyes, it will actually crush down into both white dye and light grey dye. So that's 2 of my dye farms done just from chickens. And just to prove that to you there, if you put bone meal through a mill, you get white dye and you get light grey dye. So we need a chicken farm, we need a slicing machine, and then we need a milling machine. So in terms of this chicken farm, we're going to be going for a standard Minecraft vanilla chicken farm. And we're going to start with the chest just there, a hopper facing into that, and another one there. Now these 2 are just temporary temporary. On top of that hopper, we're going to have a slab. Behind that slab, we're going to have a dispenser facing into it. And then we need to surround that with these little copycat boards like that. And then above that, we need a block of lava, which is also going to be surrounded by boards as well. Above this dispenser, we're going to have another hopper, and our chickens are basically going to live on top of that. So we need some boards to surround that as well, so the chickens don't escape. I need to get rid of that and put another one of those there. How are you going to get the chickens in? We'll worry about that in a minute. First of all, we need to get rid of that cobblestone there and put some lava in there. And that's going to basically kill the chickens once they've grown up from being a baby. And I think for now we'll get rid of those. And then I think we're going to colour these in glass just so that we can see what's going on. So putting those back on there like that, we've got a good idea of everything that's happening inside of this now. We need to get a redstone signal into this dispenser to just make it keep firing eggs, and we need to get our chickens into there. And the easiest way to do that is going to be to basically pile up into the roof, dig myself a little hole, get rid of that cobblestone. We'll put a board on top of that hopper so the chickens don't fall into the hopper, and we also need a block there so we can put another board on there and stop them escaping out of that bit. And now we're just going to need a bunch of temporary blocks around here to stop them escaping as well. And now hopefully I can throw a bunch of these eggs here and actually get some chickens. There we go, got one. I don't know where it went. It seemed to, oh, it got glitched into the wall, I think. Oh, I don't know if that's on the inside or the outside. Oh, geez. Oh, that one, no, it's gone. Well, we managed to get 6 from those eggs. 1 died and 1 ran off. Well, where did he run off to? Oh, there he is. Run around the side of the house. Where you going, little chicken? I see you. I found you. So now they're all in there, we just need some redstone to this dispenser to get that going. And I think the easiest way to do that is going to be with a couple of observers. We need to have one facing down into that block there and one just underneath it facing up, which means the eggs are going to get fired. They're going to hit this bit here. The babies are going to end up on that slab, and when they grow, they're going to end up in the lava, and we're going to get a whole bunch of feathers and the occasional bit of chicken. And why are feathers important in this little thing that we're doing here? Well, in order to make the beds for those houses that we wanted, we can make these rather fancy looking beds. But for those we need cushions, and in order to make cushions, we need wool and feathers, which is why I wanted to go for a chicken farm in order to make our dyes, rather than just a normal bone meal farm. So now that's all in place, we need to think about how we're going to get the chicken out of here, but not the feathers, so that we can process those into the dyes. And I think that could be just as simple as putting a little conveyor belt into here that's going to end up going through that wall, bringing that across between these two buildings there, and then just dealing with them on the inside here. Now, before I do anything else, I actually just need to do a few tests, and it just so happens I have, hello Roxy, a piece of raw chicken just here, which I'm going to put on this slicing machine and see if it actually does slice it. No, because it needs a knife, not axes. So if I craft a flint knife and chuck that into there we go. I just turned it into chicken cuts and bone meal. Now, these chicken cuts, if I was to put those through our little smelting machine, how much health do they give you? I don't think you can eat them just as they are. It looks like barbecues on a stick might be the way to go, or potentially even a chicken sandwich. I don't know why you'd have carrot in a chicken sandwich, but apparently there you go. Weird people that made this mod. You've got to make it difficult. Why? Why it's a chicken sandwich? It's just chicken sandwich. Oh, I heard an egg go off. We have our first baby in there. We're going to be able to see if this thing actually works very, very soon. Well, this just looks like I've thrown a whole bunch of random components down, but believe it or not, I think it's a system that could work. If we send the chicken and the feathers up a little bit higher, this funnel would filter out the feathers, sending them down into that storage box. And then my plan was to take the dyes out of that millstone by bringing another belt across here in this direction, putting them into this storage box here. But that doesn't help us get rid of the chicken, so on this side we'd have to have another funnel just there that filtered out the chicken and did something with that, so the millstone was only getting the bone meal. But I think I can do it better. Well, I'm not sure this looks much better, but there's room for everything at least now. I've got the millstone powered from underground, as well as these two belts here. As you can see on the outside, we've got chain drives coming up from the floor there. And if we go down underneath this thing, you'll see that I've made this little room here with a couple of gearboxes and some shafts that's just powering all of that. If I was to throw another gearbox in here as well, that should get our slicer going, which is going in the correct direction, so that's good. And that should also mean that the belt coming from the chicken farm is going as well, and hopefully that's going in the right direction. No, it's not doing anything at all. We've got a feather on it though, so that chicken must have grown. That bit's going, but this isn't, so we need a little bit more chain drive here to link those two together. So there we go. Now that's going. That's going to send our feather through. Now I haven't filtered any of these boxes yet, so that feather's probably just ended up on the floor. Yes. It has. So this smart chute here is going to need to filter for feathers. So this filter is going to need chicken. And now if I throw the feather back on, it should go down through this and into there. It did. Good. So the chicken will come down here. It's going to get sliced by that. We need to filter that for bone meal. So only bone meal goes in there, and anything else is just going to come out of there, but it can't go anywhere because there's a block in the way. So we need a little something down there to take that. And to make this look even more tidy and less messy, what we're actually going to do is get rid of that funnel, put a smart chute under there, and for now we'll just have that going into a barrel. And then if we filter that for anything but bone meal, then anything that comes through that's not bone meal is going to come down that smart chute and end up in that barrel, which is a bit of an awkward place for it to be, but it's going to have to work for now. And that means that that is all of that done. I have had to move the door slightly so that we've actually got room on that wall to put all of those things in, but now we've got a full chicken processing plant that should be getting us feathers, chicken, and dyes. Now if I throw bone meal on there, what's going to happen? It's going to get milled and it's going to get turned into dye. Fantastic. Oh good. So now all we got to do is wait for all of this chicken to come through. And while I'm waiting, I want to go and check out how our sheep system's getting on. I've been hearing lots of clipping going on with those shears. It still hasn't used any more shears, but wow, we got a lot of wool in here already. Oh, it's all working out rather well in here. Well done, sheepies. I'm just going to keep breeding up these chickens for a little while and see if we can get any more babies on the way. And once I'm happy we've got enough chickens in there, I'll put the roof back together again. But for now, it can stay like that. And in order to make sure all of this is controlled okay, I'm going to set both of these boxes to void mode. And that way, this thing's never going to overflow, because there's no way I can stop those chickens from dropping eggs and having babies. Now, I could turn off the redstone to stop this firing the eggs into there, but then what? That's going to fill with eggs, that's going to fill with eggs, and those guys are going to keep pooping out eggs. So the best way to deal with this, to prevent items being everywhere, is just to void them off. That's 2 dyes fully automated. I just need to do 2 more. So a few minutes have gone by, and we now have a mighty 9 feathers in my storage box there, and a whole 12 white dye in this one here. We've also got a few scraps of chicken as well. And that's because I've been breeding these chickens so much that we've now got an absolute load of the babies just sat here waiting to go. We've almost made a full circle of baby chickens. But that's got me thinking about these dye farms. As much as I want to make a whole bunch of different dye farms, the problem is here, I'd rather have the bone meal than the white dye. White dye is pretty useless on its own, and the chance of getting light grey dye is so small we're hardly going to get any from it at all. I think I'd rather just have the bone meal, which means if I want to complete that side quest, I've still got to automate 4 different colours of dye. And the other 2 that I were going to do was going to be beetroot to get red dye, because that's really easy to automate, and the other one I was going to do was charcoal and turn that into black and dark grey dye, because we've got a surplus of charcoal at the minute. This thing's just non-stop running, and as a result we're just constantly having charcoal coming in. But then I still need 2 different colours of dye, which if I had a surplus of bone meal would be really easy. So I'm thinking that rather than completing that side quest today, we convert the chicken machine into a bone meal machine and start creating a reasonable amount of bone meal. We get the interior of this house finished like I said I was going to, and then we worry about those other dyes in the next episode. So in order to fix this, I'd need to get rid of all of those and that and that, and in order to save a bit of space we can get rid of that and that and that and that and that, and just shove that over there, which means I no longer need that sticking out of the wall. It means I don't need that little chicken thing here, I don't need that there, or that, or that, or that, or that. So now in here I'm just going to be collecting chicken and bone meal, which is absolutely fine. And that means I can have my door back where I wanted it as well. That's better. Now, another way of me getting a reasonable amount of compost will be with our bread farm that we made a few episodes ago. In here, I've got an absolute surplus of seeds, and I've got an absolute surplus of bread that I don't need. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove this box and put that one there instead. And now I can collect a whole bunch more bread than we did before. And I'm also going to switch out the seeds and the straw ones. And that means I can bring all of those things over to this little composting setup I've got here, which I can then basically fill up with all of those seeds and all of that bread, and that's going to give me a good kickstart into generating a reasonable amount of bone meal. Well, I've been busy decorating the inside of the farmhouse, which was quite an epic task because it's just so massive. And another whole day has passed, which means my wool farm and my chicken farm have been working overtime, generating lots of stuff. So we'll see exactly what we've got with those in a minute. But before that, let's take a tour around this building and see what's going on inside. Starting with the main living area of the farmhouse, we've got a really nice little kitchen here with a kitchen sink, a stove, some cooking pots. We've got cupboards, a board, above, some jam jars, a rolling pin, and these really nice window blinds which you can open and close. Also in this room we've got a nice little picnic table style table, which I think would be a great little breakfast table. We've got curtains on the windows and another little room with some sofas in and a couple of bits of decoration that I think makes a really nice little snug. To the side of this big room we have the little side building which has just got some storage in it, and also in this room we've got the stairs leading up to the bedrooms, but we'll look at those in a second. First of all, we're going to check out this raised area which has got a more fancy dining table in it, probably where the farmer's family would eat their evening meals or somewhere to entertain guests. And in here we've got a few more cupboards, some wine racks, some display cases, and a little flower just to add some colour. Through this door into the little hallway to the side we've got the farmer's office with bookshelves and clipboards and a desk and a chair, some more cupboards and paintings and things like that. And the final little room on this level is another little workshop filled with chipped workstations, a crafting table, and just some other bits and bobs to fill up the space. So that's downstairs all looked at. Upstairs we've got a hallway that leads round to a couple of different bedrooms, and the first bedroom has got a really nice oak fancy bed with some side tables, a lantern, a nice little desk, some more paintings, wardrobes and storage space. And the other bedroom is very similar with another oak fancy bed, some more side tables, a bigger desk this time, and some more wardrobes and some more storage space. And right at the end of the corridor we've actually got the attic space. So I just opted for this to be a sort of rough and ready attic with barrels and chests and bits of furniture strewn about, probably that's just been collected over the years and dumped up here for safekeeping. And that's it. That is the house tour complete. Everything is done. Everything's looking great. I really like the whole layout of it all. So let's go and see how the farms have got on. And we'll start with the wool farm, which has been running like crazy, generating us a whole bunch of wool, and as a result we've now got an absolute ton of wool of all of the different colours, and we've even started to overflow here as well. So you could say the wool farm has been a complete success. But has the chicken farm? Well, let's first check on the chicken situation. There is a constant group of baby chickens here just below the larva, so we must be getting plenty of chickens dying and ended up in the system. And we are. We're getting a reasonable amount. We're getting a whole bunch of feathers, but not so much bone meal. And we're getting a lot of chicken as well, and sadly I can't do anything with that chicken other than turn it into sandwiches, which needs a whole bunch more ingredients. So overall I'm very happy with how this has all come out, but there's one more thing I need to do. And that's not the dye farms that I'm supposed to be doing for that side quest. It is, of course, to craft up a bunch more of these fancy beds and come and replace all of the limestone beds I did in the last episode inside of the cottages with nice, actual, proper beds. And here goes the last bed, and I think that makes the world of difference even in these tiny little rooms. But I wonder who's going to be sleeping in them.